we are going to discuss the importance of counting the Omer. The 12 tribes have been scattered throughout the world. We have no temple. So, can we really practice these ancient instructions given in Torah? I am going to show you through scripture how Messiah prophetically explains to his Talmudim the importance of counting the Omer. Although this is an ancient agricultural practice, Messiah is going to give revelation and a bit of a prophetic warning to us all. Leviticus 23, verses 15 through 16, tells us about the Omer count. The count starts after the Shabbat of Passover, after the first waving of the bikurim or the first fruits. So families, they had to take their first fruits, which is the barley harvest. So Passover is tied to the first harvest, which is the barley. All right? Families had to take their bikurim or their first fruits to the priest to wave it before the Most High before they could attend to their own harvest. So you know this was super important. You've got to get your first fruits in so you can get the harvest for your family. Messiah first showed himself to the women. I'm going to do a video describing why Messiah decided to show himself to women first, right? But he showed himself to the women and they could not touch him. He had to go and show himself to the Father first before anybody could touch him. He has fulfilled the Ha-Bikurim or the Feast of First Fruits, all right? So he has to present himself as the first fruits. Remember, Messiah rose Saturday evening. We talked about the Hebraic counting of a day. From evening to evening is a day, all right? So Messiah resurrects really doing Ha-Bikurim, right? On Saturday night, he shows himself to the women Sunday morning, which is technically still Ha-Bikurim because Ha-Bikurim or first fruits doesn't end till that evening of Sunday. Now, during Messiah's ministry, he hinted at the resurrection to his Talmudim in Matthew 9 and 37. Then he said to his disciples, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the master of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field. Messiah, he was hinting at the promise of the resurrection as the disciples or the Talmudim would keep Ha-Bikurim. So Ha-Bikurim, first fruits, is all about gathering the barley harvest. Barley harvest will take about 7 weeks to complete. About 2.5 quarts of new grain was to be measured each day for Yahweh. This was mainly stored in the temple. It was for the widows, the poor, and the orphan. During this time, he is giving his Talmudim instructions and revelation. These instructions and revelation led to the harvesting of souls. So each time that he appeared to his Talmudim and to other people, this was his harvest that he is gathering. He is presenting a harvest to the Most High so that when he presents himself to the Most High in the heavenly realm, that down here on the earthly realm, when we resurrect, we are presented as the first fruit harvest. The number 40 in the Hebrew is very significant. So really quickly, we have the children of Israel in the wilderness for 40 days, depending totally on the Most High for shelter and provision. We see that the Messiah is being tempted by the enemy for 40 days. We'll come back to that in a moment. The last of the 10 days, because we are counting down 50 days. If I forgot to say that, That is what we're counting down. We are counting down 50 days until we get to Shavuot. So we see how Passover and Shavuot is connected through the counting of the Omer. So for the last 10 days of the count of the Omer, Messiah instructs them to go to Jerusalem and wait those 10 days. 10 in the Hebrew is super important. It represents divine order, a completed cycle, a divine measure, or a divine congregation or group. So we can see that the counting of the Omer is of the utmost importance. I'm going to give you the scriptures that speak about him appearing to the Talmudim and to the people during the Omer count. John 20, 1 through 18, with John 20, 1 through 18, the Talmudim went to the tomb after the women told them that Messiah was resurrected. Matthew 28, 16 through 20, the Talmudim comes to meet him. Luke 24, 1 through 33, two Talmudim are on the road and they see and meet Messiah. Mark 16, 14, and John 20, 24 through 28, the Talmudim are in the upper room and Messiah appears to them. John 21, 1 through 14. Some of the Talmudim, they went back to fishing and Messiah met them there. We really need to understand how stressful of a time this was as well. Remember, their beloved Torah teacher, prophet, could he be the Mashiach, had given himself over to be beaten and to be crucified. Right? So they have lost their beloved teacher, prophet, soon to be Messiah. And trust me, they are on edge. The government, because of the fame of Messiah, because of the fame of Yeshua, and many of them that believed on him, they wanted those believers too. So they feared for their lives. They did not know what was going to happen after Messiah gave his life. So we have to understand that no matter what they feared, they kept the feast. Okay. I am going to reiterate that. During Passover, as the Talmudim sat with the Messiah, taking the Passover meal before he became the sacrificial lamb, they kept Passover. They were obedient to the commands of Torah. That is very important, right? Now we fast forward to counting of the Omer, to first fruits, to Feast of Unleavened Bread. They kept the feast despite what was going on with Messiah, despite what was going on in the government. They kept the feast. Now we are counting the Omer, right? And he is instructing them to go wait in Jerusalem. And we know what happened as they waited in Jerusalem, right? They received the promise that Messiah had spoken to them previously, and they received it through keeping the feast, right? I am going to pound that in. You don't know what the Most High has planned for you when you are obedient to keeping the feast. Inside of the feast, it is revelation and it is prophecy to you personally, all right? Passover, Pesach is personal to you. It is about your personal deliverance and freedom today. So you can take these ancient practices and apply them to you today for your household. What is Mashiach instructing you to do through Passover? What is Mashiach instructing you to do through Ha Bikurim or first fruits? What is he instructing you to do through the counting of the Omer, right? He gave instructions and revelation to his followers. If you are a follower of Yeshua, he is speaking to you. However, you can miss, right, some important things that he is saying in this hour because you do not keep the feast. Now, am I telling you that you are damned to hell and damnation and fire and brimstone if you don't keep the feast? I am not going to say that to you because I truly do not believe that. However, if you have stumbled upon this video, Messiah is revealing himself to you, all right? Before I understood the feast days, I was celebrating Easter, Christmas, 4th of July, all of those things, all right? And I was blessed. Let's get that straight. I was blessed because I believed on Messiah, aka Jesus Christ. However, as I got closer to the Most High, as I got closer to the Mashiach, sitting at his feet, really studying his word and praying to him for wisdom and revelation, he gave me the revelation of the feast days. All right. He gave me the revelation of keeping Shabbat. That was the door into keeping the feast. Right. When we look at Shabbat, in the Ten Commandments, we see that Shabbat is number 4 on the ranking of commands. So, all of us who study our Hebrew, we know that 4 is the Hebrew letter Dalet, and that is the door. For me, I came through the door of Shabbat. Of course, I understood who Jesus Christ, aka Yeshua HaMashiach, was, but I got a greater understanding of who he was as I kept the feast. So even if you don't fully understand, the Talmudim, the disciples, they did not fully understand what Messiah was saying to them. All they knew was that they had to be obedient to the Torah command that says to keep the feast, to do these things during the feast. So I hope this has helped you somewhat to honor at least keeping the Omer, all right? To sit down and talk about it and to get that revelation and understanding. All right, I will see you all in the next video. Shalom, everyone.